When it comes to EVE Online, every player wants to know the most effective tactic available. You want to know the meta. The meta controls everything. It determines what will and will not happen. Knowing the meta will alter your views, make you question your reality. It might even make you laugh. And now, you're part of it. You're watching The Meta Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Meta Show. It is Saturday, March the 30th, 2024. I'm Brisc, Rubal, joined alongside Mark Resurrectus. It's kind of a chill episode this week. We've got a lot of big news, but we've also got a couple things we haven't done on the show in quite a long time. So I said, you know what? I'm going to break from tradition. I'm going to sit down. I'm not wearing a tie. We're just going to have a nice conversation, Mark and I. And then in the midpoint of the show or so, when the time, I think the time gets right, we will be having our first CCP employee interview in ages here on the show. I wanted to pitch. I told you guys last week there'd be a major announcement today. There's going to be a major announcement, but what I was alluding to at that point was we were going to have our CCP interview, and I didn't want to hype it because I'm not going to say that they're unreliable, but there have been situations where we have been told at the last minute that somebody was coming and then they're not. So yeah. I didn't want to put us in a position where I was hyping and getting everybody excited that we were going to finally have our CCP interview and then not have them show up. But it's confirmed. It's ready to go in a half an hour or so. I think we'll get there. But I wanted to make sure you guys were all aware of it last week so we could do a little bit of a hype because we got some fun. We got some fun for the show today.
We do have some fun. It'll be fun.
Mark, what kind of fun do you have planned for today? Because I think we're going to be talking about something that you care about.
Yeah. We well, if you're not if you're not in wormhole space, or you're not or you live under a rock and are in wormhole space, there's a war going on right now. That's kind of taken up a lot of my attention currently. It's exciting. It's an exciting week. It's an exciting time. We haven't had a big wormhole war in a while. A lot of back and forth. Some people will. A lot of folks have a lot of strong opinions about it. Certainly, I'm not. Not one of them. I have said,
of course, you have no strong opinions ever.
Oh yeah. No strong opinions at any time. But no, it's good. We could talk about that. We could talk about, I don't know what you guys are doing. Anger games.
I mean, I will talk a little bit about this because I wanted to at least highlight something. And we'll go. I mean, we don't really have a top story other than the major announcement that'll be later. Yeah. So we'll do that. We'll do that when we get to it. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what's been going on in EVE and nullsec. And I was having a conversation with some of my fellow goon directors today, and it's one of these situations where I feel like we're in the Cold War. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's been it feels like decades. It's been 3 years since the Great War, since Vietnam, the Great War, whatever you want to call it, World War B2, whatever you want to call it, ended. It was 2021 is over. It's 2024 now. It's been 3 years. And I don't think we've had a couple of minor conflicts. I don't think any of them would I mean, I guess you could argue perhaps that the firefight in the Southeast before they got kicked out when Init and Horde worked together to get rid of Fire, kick them out and move them up north. I guess that could have been arguably a war, but I feel like if you don't have your full alliance committed, it probably isn't a war. And since it was one of Init's SIGs and it was one of Horde's SIGs that was doing all the work, it didn't really feel like a war. And then you had up north, you had obviously the fraternity versus B3. We called it the war in the north. I think that's fair to call that a war because you had two major powers that announced that they were fighting. There were goals, there were plans, there was all kinds of stuff. The B2 stuff, right? Exactly. So we killed the 4 keep stars that they had the B2 guys had asked us to come up and help with. That fraternity had dropped in period basis. Those die, and then we kind of just sit. But all of these wars, except for, I mean, other than the fire one, pretty much all of these wars happen in the backdrop of the Imperium versus Pappy kind of bipolar New Eden situation that has been a thing. And I guess Pappy fell apart, so now it's PandaFam versus the Imperium, and we've got Init moving out of the Imperium, although they're still blue. And I will, as an aside, Mark, do you know the one thing that pisses off the PandaFam people like more than anything else?
Is it the idea that Init is not actually the Imperium, but
yes, it is.
Blue?
Anytime a goon or anybody in the Imperium says, well, Init's not in the Imperium anymore, it is like you can, if you open up your window and you listen out the door, you might hear some birds, you might hear the wind a little bit, but if you say Init's no longer in the Imperium, you will literally hear blood vessels exploding in the heads of PandaFam members across the world. They go absolutely insane when you say this. It is hilarious.
I always assumed it was more of a change of direction, you know, whereas before, I think when you're the understanding, at least you correct me if I'm wrong, if you're in the Imperium, you are kind of taking leadership direction from the top. So if the top says do this, then you're kind of maybe not directed to, but expected to kind of follow along those same lines. By leaving the Imperium, that opens up Shines and his team to do things on their own that may not necessarily fall in line with the larger goals. But again, like, you know, on the one hand, I get it, because if you're blue, you're blue. But on the other hand, like, I mean, you know, it is what it is. It's such a trifling thing that it's funny that people get all worked up about it.
I just have to laugh. And I have to say, like, as somebody on the inside, you know, it frustrates me when folks like to pretend that these groups are not blue, right? Yes, we're blue, but you're never going to say that the way that the Imperium works has always been, it's been top down. The head of the Imperium makes the decisions. All of the other autocrats, all the other alliance leaders inside the Imperium talk. But that's part of the major announcement, Vaddy. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The whole concept of, okay, they're blue, but they're not really a part of the Imperium, but they're really part of the Imperium, but they're still goons. It's everything like that. It's like if Horde were to argue, and we call PandaFam as a joke, they're in the coalition together, but Fraternity and Horde are not the same thing. We would never call Fraternity and Horde, right? I mean, you're never going to call, we really won't call Horde and NC Dot Horde, but everybody loves to call goons everybody that's in Imperium goons. I've always thought that was weird.
I do that.
But it's not, and it doesn't share services with the Imperium anymore. They can't get on TeamSpeak with us, or they can't get on Mumble with us. They can't get on any of our Discords. They can't get on any kind of, like with member roles or anything. They're not in any of the coordination channels anymore. They're not. So all the people want to complain and be like, and it goes to the same. No, they're not. Anyway, I digress. The whole point is we have seen what I think has been an entrenching of this interstellar Cold War that we are in the middle of. And it is essentially Imperium and friends on one side versus PandaFam or PanFam or Horde and their friends on the other side. And everything that's happening in Eve outside, like at least in nullsec, with the possible exception of the folks in the Southeast that are still doing their Southeast thing, all of those fights, everything is in that backdrop. So it's kind of like a Cold War. So when we talk about the stuff that happened last week in HiSec with the destruction of those 2 TTT Sotoyos, that was part of the larger Cold War that's going on. It just happened to spill into HiSec this time. And I feel like that's what's happening now over in Ketch with the Ketch Keepstar, the F4R2 Keepstar. We saw big news this week Congratulations. Actually, I'm going to pull it up on the screen. I want to say congratulations. Congratulations to our pals, everyone's favorite plucky little group of Barv. The brave guys have taken back their ancestral home of GE Tech 8 in Ketch. It is now, the iHub is now flying a brave flag. Wow.
That's funny.
It's about time.
I'm happy for him, man. I love those guys. Jinx is a great dude. That's it's good to come home. You know what I mean?
Yep. And as you can see, like, Ketch is slowly turning back into what it's supposed to look like. There's not a lot of the goofiness that was in here before. The fraternity areas are here and everything, but they're getting pushed back. F4R2 is here. That Keepstar, it's going to die. I mean, the bottom line is that Keepstar will die. Will it die this week? I don't know. Will it die next week? I don't know. It's going to die. It will die.
It will.
It's just a question of when and how and whether or not, we get any good fights out of it. And that's what I think is the thing. Alvaron says, is Brave moving back to Ketch? I don't think so. I have not heard anything from them. We're not making any announcements on their behalf. All I know is that they took GE Tech back, and we're happy for it. Because that, to me, there are certain systems in the game that will always be affiliated with a specific group in my mind. Like, for instance, obviously, 1DQ1. 1DQ1A will always be a goon system. Delve is goons, anime is cartoons. It's like a rule. Like, we all know this. Okay? VFK is another one. And to me, GE Tech, I don't care what ticker is there, it's always going to be Brave.
Yeah.
To me. And I mean, I'll tell you, like, I don't know if I've shown you guys this in a while, but if you look at Brisc, my main character, who no one's ever heard of, the number one system in the game for my PvP kills of all time. Let me pull it up. Here it is. The number one system, PvP kills for Mr. Brisc Rubal right here. GE Tech.
Really?
With
wow.
420, which means I can never get another kill in GE Tech. I can't.
There you go.
I really can't do that. I can't. I'm going to have to just let it sit there forever. But, I mean, that all of these other ones, VTech 3 is next door, so that's kind of makes sense. Sendez and Pochvin, T5Z was during the war. J115405, that's Rage.
It is Rage.
There you go. So, to me, like, I spent so much time in that system because it was fun. See, Swift is there. Swift is exactly. GE Tech, that's the thing. Whether it was Karma Fleet going there to farm them every weekend for Saturday Night's Forum, or PL going there to farm them, just in general principle for years, everybody goes to GE Tech. We always got good fights there. I have a lot of fond memories of that system being a Brave system. It needs to be a Brave system. If it's not a Brave system, there's something weird. It's like the world is not right. So I'm happy that we're finally back in there. Now, I will say, obviously, the Ketch, whatever is going on in Ketch, that's going to be a longer term thing. I don't know. I don't think we can characterize it as a war because it's just really just the same Cold War. We're fighting the same people, doing the same stuff. They're messing around. We're messing around. People are dropping structures. We're dropping structures. At the end of the day, it's not like it's a big deal because in the end, it's fucking Ketch. It's Ketch. And when it comes down to it, Ketch is one of the most impossible to defend regions in New Eden. It is a crossroads. I showed you guys that 2 weeks ago. It's a crossroads system. It's got so many entrances, so many exits. The jump ranges are crazy. But it's a popular, I mean, there's a lot of fun systems in there. There's a lot of places that have a lot of story, history, need because this is where the fights happen because you can't really defend it. It's got this giant pipe that just like sends people straight through it, and it's on the path to high sec. So when it comes down to it, Ketch is not the best system to ever live in. I don't know why Brave ever wanted to be honest. I mean, that's exactly. Ketch is a region where alliances die, and to me, it's always kind of funky when you see people making a move because they want catch, because it's like, okay, you want catch. And I understand catch is attractive. It's in the center. It is a spoke, a hub and spoke system. They're like 70 R64s, a lot of moons and everything. But how do you mine them when you're constantly getting dropped on by everybody because you're within range of everything?
I kind of respect it though, you know, like it is one thing to live in a place that is fairly well defended, like fairly safe, you know, and maybe safe isn't the right word, but like isolated more so than anything else, where like if somebody wants to come to your space and wants to cause a ruckus, they're doing so intentionally. People can accidentally end up in GE TAC. You know what I mean? Like, hell, I've accidentally ended up there. And the fact that we were, I mean, I can tell you for such a long time, you know, brave and, you know, anytime that we were taking out small fleets and we wanted to go somewhere we knew there would be content, heading towards GE was always the place to go, because somewhere along the line you'd run into a brave fleet and those guys were always down to fight, which was really, really cool. I have enjoyed a lot of good engagements. Well, a lot of good times I've gotten blobbed the shit out of.
Well, I mean, that's to be expected, right?
Of course, yeah, of course.
You know,
but
don't tell anybody how they can defend their own space.
No, of course not. Of course not. Living though in that space where you're kind of in the fire all the time. That's a hustle, man. I really like it.
It is. So the only other thing I wanted to mention was, and I've said this before, and we taunted Horde pretty solidly a couple weeks ago, and I think that kind of was part of the motivation for them to start taking some of these fights. They took some fights this week. They had some successes. They were able to take out a good number of our TFIs a couple days ago, and we had refed a bunch of their structures, and the stuff had come out of ref. But I will say this: one of the new aspects of the meta that I have seen, and I want to call it out right now because I think it's complete fucking bullshit. And I'm going to call it out. Now, maybe this will backfire in my face and they're going to start doing it even more. But we saw this, I think, for the first time, one of the first times I can recall it ever happening, at least in an obvious way, was last week or 2 weeks ago for the Sotoyo fight.
Yep.
What we have seen, Mark, it's not enough. It's not enough that Panda Fam time zone tanks all of their structures to China time zone to make it hard on us. They have also started denying us the ability to pick the day that we get an armor timer by reffing their own structures so that they can put them in a time that they like it.
I did hear about this.
This is the most bullshit, coward, crybaby, oh my God thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. It's not enough that you put it in a time zone where 2/3 of the player base doesn't live to make it hard and make them have to wake up or start early or everything. You're now reffing, you're taking away the only thing that the offense has, which is being able to go. Agami says it's been happening since passes. I feel like maybe that's true, but I cannot recall a time where I've ever gone out on a fleet and been told we have to ref our structure so we get a good timer to deny these guys content. That's nuts to me.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a second. I think it's fucking hilarious.
All right. You think it's hilarious?
I think it's hilarious.
Okay.
And I don't like, because if you're in a prolonged engagement with a powerful ally who you are concerned that you cannot beat them, and a mechanic exists that allows you to deny that content perpetually, if that means like it's the equivalent of like shooting yourself in the foot so you don't have to go off to war, right? Like,
right.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe that's a smart move, but you're still a pussy for doing it.
I mean, I guess
I'm just saying,
if it keeps the structures up, is it a bad move? Like, if it works, it works. I mean, listen, I'm not saying it's the honorable play. It is funny though. Like, the fact that you can do it is funny. I mean, that absolutely will, like, if you think it works better for you that way, then do it. But like, it's one of those things where, like,
Yeah.
I think when you're planning to do something like that, you kind of have to expect the blowback from it. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of have to expect, like, oh, people are gonna
Well,
hate this.
yeah, but it's funny because I feel like, I mean, you can see in the chat, there are some people that are like, this is fine. Why is this a bad thing? And other people are like, oh, they're like me. Oh, this guy's a pussy. But for me, if anything, it makes me kind of feel like the guys that are saying get rid of the armor timer and only have 2 timers on the structure.
I don't like that. That's dumb.
I'm starting to think that maybe that's not the wrong. Maybe that's not the wrong idea. Maybe that is okay. Maybe that is something we should consider, because it's like if everything is tilted towards the defender's advantage. If everything is tilted toward the defender's advantage, they get to pick. Not only do they get to pick the time zone that the structure comes out in, but now they can self-ref. They're going to self-ref their stuff, and this becomes an accepted part of the meta, so that they can deny days of the week to the other side. Like, I mean, maybe it's China time zone, but hey, at least it's on a Saturday, so I can get people to come. Like, if they're going to deny that, I mean, I don't understand it. Like, that's you're making it almost impossible for anybody to go on an offensive if you do that kind of thing.
Sure.
It's coward. I mean, yes, and to Tildek's point, it's mechanics, coward mechanics, but it is mechanics. I agree, but you know what? When mechanics are making the game less fun, then that's something that I think our friends in Iceland need to take a look at. I'm just saying.
I think that there probably needs to be an answer to time zone tanking. I think time zone should matter significantly, but it shouldn't be the only thing, right? And I think probably they are aware of that too. I imagine, my guess is that that's probably something that they think about from time to time. What the answer to that is, I don't know, and I wouldn't be able to. I even hypothesizing how that would look, I couldn't tell you. I don't like removing the armor timer because for the same reason I don't like removing the armor timer for Astra's, but for a completely different reason. I mean, for the same reason, but on a much larger scale. But yeah, it's funny. I would never do it myself because I like having those 3 timers. But it is funny.
And that's the thing. And Axme says there's no good way to fix this. I agree. There's no good way to fix this, but there has to be a way to fix it. Maybe it's not a great way to fix it, but there has to be a way to fix it. And I know, and yes, obviously, this is EVE Online. Any major change to the game that is made because of the behavior of the biggest groups will always fuck with the smaller groups. And Delineator says the CSM should work to make blobs less prevalent. That's not possible. You can't get there. You're not going to be able to do that because there's no easy way to stop bring another friend. And CCP's not going to they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. And yes, I have a Slurpee now. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs.
Nice.
Brush. She brought me a Slurpee. And the dog came in.
She's very
Anyway,
sweet.
all right. Enough of the nullsec chatter, because Mark, I want to talk about this wormhole war, because I think this is kind of funky. I'm going to throw this battle report up on the screen because you showed this to me earlier and I had to laugh because, wow, you guys were all over the place and the numbers are kind of small, but the killed numbers are humongous.
Yeah.
So here we go. Look at this. Look at this battle report.
Well, so I want to be clear about a couple things about this BR. This is the BR of like 8 different holes over the span of a day. So I just give everybody a wide ranging, like a very general synopsis of what's going on here. So a large coalition of, I wouldn't say large, a decent sized coalition of wormhole groups. Myself and my group, Turbo Feeder Glory, is in that group, or is in that coalition. So I'm prefacing all of this to say that, like, understand that the perspective that you're going to get is inherently biased. I'm going to try and be as straightforward as I can about it.
This is the meta show. You're allowed to be as biased as you want.
Right. You're going to get it from a certain point of view. There's another point of view who has a much different point of view than I do. So just understand that.
That's a lot of dead structures, by the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dead structures.
It is a lot of dead structures.
That's legit.
So Laserhawks is probably the preeminent group in Wormhole space. For the longest time, they've been kind of big dogs on the block. They have the most members, or at least the most, they can spool up to the most members. Probably, especially in US time zone, they are a force to be reckoned with. They're very scary, and they have some of the best FCs. They have some of the best, they have a ton of money. They have a lot of the best, you know, individual pilots, a lot of really strong members. Like they do a lot of things really, really well. Over the last couple of years, they've consolidated a lot of that into, they have had a fairly consistent stranglehold on what we would consider like a high class space, more generalized, but C6 space more specifically. C6 space, if you're not familiar, I don't know why you'd be watching the show if you weren't, is by far the most lucrative farming area in the game. Wormhole groups in general tend to use that space to fund some of the, our more expensive comps. There are a lot of people who use those farms. I can tell you right now, a lot of your coalition leaders, a lot of your lance leaders have C6 and C5 farms as well. It just is what it is.
Do they really? Those bastards.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. So Hawks has a has a ton of C6s. They've had them for a long time. HK Hard Knocks used to have a bunch of C6s before Hard Knocks kind of went by the wayside. And a lot of those then folded over into Laserhawks as time has progressed. So
now hold on a second. Now,
yeah,
in chat, we have people being telling me that it's unfair to point fingers at Laserhawks for renting C6s because everybody rents C6s. Is that a fair statement?
I can't rent any C6s myself because I only have one, and it's my own. So
well, you could rent it if you wanted it. You're going to use it.
I suppose I could.
How much does it cost to rent a C6? You
would have to talk to the folks at Laserhawks. I cannot tell you. I've never done it myself.
Okay.
The reason that my group got involved in this war, and there are going to be a lot of Hawks guys who are kind of mad at me for saying this. It is what it is. This is the God's honest truth. I've told this to a couple guys already who have asked from both sides of this group. My group
20 bill for a C6.
Oh, there you go. My group has for a long time wanted to get more C6s so that we could fund, more expensive comps and better SRP. We have, our group has gotten a lot bigger over the last year or so. And we feel like that is something that we need to, in order to take the next step, become more competitive. That's the kind of thing that we need to do, right? I have tried for a long time to buy C6s from Laserhawks. I have for a really long time, over several different occasions, talked to the folks there, tried to find anything they'd be willing to sell. They were willing to rent a couple, and I, proposed that to the guys in my group who were asking if they'd be willing to do that. None of them really wanted to go down that road, but they wouldn't sell.
Who wants to be a renter, really?
Well, we had the money. Plenty of people rent, and it's not the thing about renting is, especially in Wormhole space, if you're renting from a big group, that does come with a lot of perks. You can say it's the same reason why anybody rents anywhere. There's a certain amount of security that comes with that, right? The problem is,
theoretically,
if you don't want to be a renter, it is very hard. And Blue Star Line brings up a good point. Why not just go in and claim it? It's really hard for any one group to compete with Laserhawks. I already mentioned they're one of the better groups in Wormhole. Honestly, probably the best group in terms of just an individual engagement on individual engagement. I don't know if there's anyone there's one other group that is competitive with them, and everybody else is kind of a tier below. So, but I wanted more C6s. I wanted to buy them. I know that there are C6s that aren't getting used very frequently. We have eyes in a lot of C6s, and can tell you
how much were you going to buy them for.
I bought one time for 50 billion-esque, which is a lot, but it came with a home defense fleet too.
So for like the renting of 20 billion, if you're renting 20 billion, how much are you making then?
You can make a lot. If you're crabbing consistently, you got to think you're pulling from C6 sites. You can easily pull You know, especially if you're running them in dreads, you can pull a bill every 10 minutes.
As an individual or as in like a group?
Well, not individually. If you break it up, you can, if you do it with like 4 dreads in a C6 site, you can consistently, one cycle some of the sites, and that will get you for the entire site about 1 billion ISK. A little less than that, but
have I mentioned we should nerf blue loot?
Yeah,
I don't know if I've mentioned that or not. I'm just saying.
The point I'm trying to make is that the number's high. I mean, it's high. It just is what it is. It's high. So we want to, we wanted to do that. We wanted to be able to offer that to our members, and we were willing to pay for it, and they didn't want to sell it to us. So we, for the longest time,
Triangle Joe is correct, by the way. Anyway,
yeah,
go ahead, keep going.
For the longest time, we just didn't. And that was kind of frustrating. It was unfortunate, but it is what it is. I was willing to, there was one other group that was willing to work with me, and one other group who did end up selling me a C6, and that was Singularity Syndicate. We've been friends with them for a long time. I've had Cyrus Karush on this show before.
Multiple times he's been on
multiple times. Yeah, Cyrus is a buddy of mine, and he was willing to work with me. And at the end of the day, when it came down to deciding how this was going to play out, that was the decision I had to make. Was I going to work with the group who didn't want to work with me, or work with the group that did? And we decided to work with the group that did. So The Wormhole War is about breaking up all those C6s, making sure that they are divested more equitably. What that probably is going to mean is that nobody's going to be able to crab C6s for like the next 6 months, because everybody's going to be...
Oh, I can't wait to see the MER then. That's going to be great.
The MER next month is going to be fucking crazy. But I mean, I at least in the last couple of days,
sleeper components.
We started this back in or Sunday, I think, was when the first timers got kicked off. And this last week has been kind of nuts. So we're going to keep it up as long as we can. I know the other side is going to keep it up as long as they can too. Both of these groups are well stocked, well funded. Everybody has they are invested in this thing. So it's going to be kind of wild. Right now, I know that some of Hawks' allies are sieging the home of one of the groups in the coalition. Those guys are not having a very good time. But it's going to be what it's going to be. I mean, it's a war. People lose things. That's one of the great things about Wormhole space. There's no access safety, so what you have in space matters, and I think a lot of our guys really like that. So I am excited about the prospect of, I mean, it's a lot of content. We've got guys doing stuff right now while I'm on this show, but we're that's what's going on. So if you see BRs, if you see kill mails, that's what's going on. If people are talking about it, that is the situation. All right. So there you go. That's
very interesting. Now,
thank you.
I made the obvious joke of nerf blue loot. I'm not suggesting that we nerf blue loot. As much as I'd like to tease Mark about that, that's kind of like the people that say nerf antiplexes to me and make me my blood boil. That's the thing that we say to Mark to make his blood boil. In the end, I think obviously number one, make sure that we have more money coming into nullsec. That would be great. More money for everybody would be great. Yeah. And then reduce the prices of things so they die more often. Dreads. That would be great too. That would be wonderful. That would be just solid. Let's get some more money for everybody. Money for people. Yeah. That would be great.
Cheaper dreads would be great. That'd be really nice.
Cheaper dreads would be great. Cheaper Titans would be great. Cheaper everything would be great. Yeah. Let me argue. I would make that argument in a heartbeat. All right. No we have gotten to the point. It's 4:40. Yeah. We're a little bit over what we're going to do. I wanted to prolong this as long as possible because it's not great news that we're announcing, okay? But I wanted to make sure that you all knew that there's going to be some changes coming up on the show in the near future. And Mark, take it away.
Sure. I've been thinking about how I'm going to talk about this for a little while, and I haven't really come up with anything good to say. so I'll just try and be as brief as I can. This is going to be my last show. My real life circumstances have changed in such a degree that I just don't really have the time for this sort of thing anymore. Along with this, I already told those folks yesterday to give them a heads up, but I'm also stepping down from my position on the CSM. I was there, when I first ran in 2021 or 2022. I don't know, whatever year it was. It was
22.
I had no idea that it was something that could happen. It was even possible. And the fact that people were willing to give me a chance and give me an opportunity to do that was super cool. And I sincerely appreciate, everybody's goodwill over the last couple of years. And I just have to focus up on some things IRL. I need to take care of some, some stuff in my personal life to get everything kind of squared away and make sure things are good. So I have really, really enjoyed working with the team at CCP, all those guys, Swift, who's in chat right now, my homie, CCP Zealous, CCP Convict, all those dudes have been so cool to us. All the guys on the team that works on content, and the team, all the security guys and everybody else. I mean, all top to bottom. It's been one of the best experiences of my life, and being able to even be on the show has been one of the best experiences of my life. I honestly cannot tell you enough how wild it was the day that Brisc, I was sitting in a parking lot after a basketball game that I'd announced, and Brisc asked me if I would come on the show and do it with him. And I thought it was fucking crazy. And it has been. I mean, this whole thing has been crazy. I don't really have good answers for how things ended up the way they are. I'm sorry. But it's been a lot of fun. It's been great. I don't want people to remember me as this specifically, but I hope it's been a decent year and a half or so. I hope that we've been entertaining at least. And who knows, maybe somewhere down the line, I'll be back here to see what happens. So, that being said, I know you've got your interview that you want to do.
Yeah, it's about that time.
Yeah, I know. Thank you so much, Brisc. Brian, I sincerely appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And to all you guys out there watching, thank you so much. It's been really, really cool. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'll step away. Have a good one, guys. Take it easy.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So, obviously, this is going to make some pretty significant changes for the Meta Show in the near future. What I'm going to be doing my best to do, it's going to be hard to replace Mark. It was very, very big shoes that he stepped into, but he filled them out completely because, well, he's a big guy. And trying to find somebody to sit next to me every week is pretty rough. And not only that, I have to say, trying to find someone who's willing to come on camera every week, put themselves out there, be willing to take the slings, take the arrows, but then also come up with content every week, talk and put yourself out there. It's hard. It's not the easiest thing. And a lot of people over the years have always said, oh, Brisket's easy. You just get on the camera and talk. There's a lot that goes into this show. So we will be looking, obviously, for the next few months. We're going to be trying to find a new person to replace Mark. If you're interested and you're willing to come on camera and you can actually have a talk and have a good conversation, then maybe we'll consider it. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to bring on a couple of folks that we have seen before, some new folks that we have not seen before. People keep saying Big Red Boat. Boat's doing his thing. Boat is having a good time. He does not need to be back here on this show. He did his time. Mittens, he did his time. These guys are retired for a reason. So We'll figure it out. The Gobbins, hey, you know what? If I could get Gobbins to actually come on the show and get on camera and stuff, that would be great. Right, exactly. Both's got kids. So that would be great. But in the meantime, we're going to put ourselves in a position of looking for new talent, see if we can find somebody else who'd be willing to take over as co-host. And that'll be the next couple of months here on the show. But I think we're all happy. We had a lot of fun with Mark. I'm very sad to see him go. I hope that the next chapter for him is a good one. But in the meantime, the show must go on. We got about 15 minutes left. I apologize to my CCP guests. We were talking about putting together the show a couple weeks ago. I've been asking folks from CCP to come on for a while. It's been a little bit since we had somebody on, but I did want to introduce, this is his first time on camera, the newest member of CCP Games, CCP Jotun. He will be our guest here coming up on the Meta Show. Here we are live from CCP headquarters in Reykjavik.
Yeah.
So,
yes, hello.
Hi, CCP Jotun. It's a pleasure to meet you. I haven't met you before.
It's actually, I'm sorry, Brian.
Am I mispronouncing this?
Brisc, is my mistake. It's CCP Jotun.
Jotun. Jotun.
It's a Norse thing.
Jotun. Is that a thing?
Yes, okay. Here I am live from CCP headquarters in Reykjavik, Iceland, where you can see behind me the Wall of Swords. Obviously, a fine. This is a many people have walked through these hallowed halls. In fact, I actually have a friend here to introduce me as the newest member of CCP. This is CCP Swift, my very good friend. Oh, what a good guy. CCP
hey,
Swift,
Pete,
everybody.
What's going on?
Yeah,
it's good to see him out there.
My very good friend, CCP Swift. I met him earlier today. What a dude. He has to go. Very busy. I know he's got a lot going on. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, I'm the newest member of CCP. We're here. We're doing it. We're out making it happen. You know what I mean?
That's good. So what are you going to be doing over at CCP now that you have joined the company?
I'm working with a lot of developers. I'm working with a lot of players. I talk to a lot of people, a lot of comfy chairs here. I've been sitting in a lot of chairs. Office chairs.
Those chairs behind you look pretty comfortable.
They're extremely comfortable. This one way back over here is my favorite, by the Wall of Swords. Right. I come here sometimes to reflect.
You don't want the one that's closer to the pool table? I mean, come on.
No, that one's over that way. A lot of people sit there. I have seen some people drop crumbs in the fabric of that chair. I don't want anything to do with it myself. So
that's nasty.
But no, this is great. I love the atmosphere here. A lot of people, very cool. Iceland, very strange. 5 days off for Easter. Very unusual. That's why the office is empty behind me, obviously.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously. I mean, as I'm always fond of saying, CCP Games is a great company. You get 12 paid for holidays a year, and each one lasts a month.
Yeah.
It's great.
It is pretty nice. It's a nice situation. And yeah, that's me, CCP Jotun. I'm here. I'm in Iceland. I'm making it happen.
So I have to say,
yeah,
you look a little familiar to me. Have we ever met before? Did you used to work for Sony? Or I mean,
I've heard that. I've got one of those faces, but I'll tell you the truth, Brisc. We actually have met before.
Really?
Yes.
How did this?
Well, I'll tell you how we've met before, because it's actually me, Mark Resurrectus.
What?
Oh God!
What is this?
Oh Lord! Oh God!
It was Mark all the time.
Oh, it was me. That was not good. I should have done that. Oh yeah. Hey, you guys think this is funny? I wasn't even in my office. This is a green screen. Joke's on you. So no, look. I mean, you can see. Look at that. You all thought I was in my office the whole time. So here's what's really funny about this.
You know what is the funniest part about this? And guys, for the record, everybody that keeps saying April 1st, today is March 30th. It is not March April 30th. 1st.
This is not a bit. I want to be very clear.
It was a bit, but it's not really a bit.
But it's not a bit.
It's a bit, but it's not a bit.
It's kind of a semi-bit. So here's the deal. Okay. I had my fun. This is great. This is my last day on the Meta Show. I meant all the stuff I said earlier. I am actually stepping down from the CSM today. Last Tuesday, I did accept a position at CCP, and I am moving out of the role of CSM and into the role of community developer. I'm working primarily with the Project Awakening team, which I know a lot of you will have strong opinions about. Take my word for it.
I can't wait to bust your nuts about
Yeah, I
this,
know.
Mark.
It's going to be exciting.
Fun.
But I'm going to do stuff with Eve too. I'm going to be involved in the AT this year, doing a bunch of stuff there. I'm doing stuff for the Anger games. I'll be, hopefully they'll invite me to the Live to Feed streams. I am very bad at the game. So that would maybe
Trust
be entertaining.
me too.
Yeah. But no, guys, in all seriousness, I have Jotun. Yeah, so I'm going to tell you a very quick story. I'm going to send
Please do, because I gave you a hard time because I was like, you should be CCP Blue Loot or something goofy like that.
So we had a lot of different ideas. A lot of different people pitched a lot of really good ones to me. I'm going to send you an image to put up here real quick, Brisc, because this is the where this came from. So the long and short of it is Jotuns are in Norse mythology, they were giants or like trolls or some kind of like big. I don't know if anybody has seen pictures of me. I'm kind of a monster.
He's kind of large, by the way.
Yeah, so I thought that was fitting. Also, back when I was in high school, I played HeroScape with a lot of my friends who I also played EVE Online with. There was one character in HeroScape, one mini called, if you've never played HeroScape, it's like Warhammer for casuals. One character, it was a big guy with a big old fuck off sword. His name was Jotun, and I used him every time. He's just a big ass guy with a big ass sword, and this is what I'm kind of basing my CCP persona off of. So yeah, you can actually you can go right now. If you're in Eve, you can search for my name or that name in Eve. You can find my character. I spent like an hour and a half yesterday going through like every pair of clothes in the game to find the perfect drip for my guy. I'm still not quite sure if I've situated it. But no, like, here's the thing. A couple years ago, I was working a kind of shitty job. I didn't really have a whole lot going on, and I came back to play Eve again because I was, in a place where I just moved across the country. I didn't have a whole, there wasn't much to do. All my friends were back home, and somebody said, "Man, you got to come out. And you got to play Eve Online again." I joined this Wormhole group. You should give it a shot. The idea that at that point I would have never ever at any point prior to, honestly, last Tuesday, consider that this was ever something that could ever happen, because it does not feel real. Even now, like going through the process, doing all the paperwork, I will be moving to Iceland, which is tragic. I know I'm going to become a Euro. I'm just gonna have to live with that. But Iceland,
I don't know if I'm going to be okay with it.
I know Iceland is such a cool place. If you've never been before, you absolutely need to go to Iceland at some point. It feels like a place that is that should not exist. It's on the fucking top of the world. It's a blasted rock and ice and snow, and some of the coolest people you'll ever meet. Incredible food, free healthcare, which is awesome. I'm
just excited because I have just another person's house I can stay on the floor.
Exactly.
In if I go visit,
Listen, if you're in Iceland for FanFest or for whatever reason, and you need a floor to crash on, I can't promise you that there won't be cat hair on it. I have a Roomba. I'm going to bring the Roomba with me. Hopefully that'll take care of it. They've got volcanoes. They've got all kinds of stuff. Listen, it's such a cool opportunity. And again, I want to be perfectly clear. This is not a bit. A lot of people are going to ask a lot of questions. It's not a bit. The opportunity that I've been given is one that I couldn't say no to. I wanted to, after I left my last job, I wanted to do something that I didn't hate every single day. And whether or not that's going to be true long-term for this, who can say? At least in the short term, I can tell you that the prospect of doing this job compared to anything else I've ever done before is so much crazier. And I know a lot of people are going to have a lot of things to say, because again, I am working on the Project Awakening team. We're going to have a lot of fun. I promise you guys, don't stress it. It's going to be great. you know, at worst comes to worst, if you want to yell at me, you can yell at me. Who cares? That's what I'm there for. It'll be a great time.
Right.
But
and in case anybody's wondering, CCP has made their announcement, and in addition, I wanted to bring this up because
you can link, pull it up on the screen.
This is a question. Mark is leaving the CSM. The question was, does he get replaced? How are they going to do it? CCP Swift posted on the forums at the same time we were doing the bit that Mark stepped down, and even though CSM 18 is halfway, like at the halfway point in the term, they're not going to be replacing him. And he said the two primary reasons for that is, one, most of the decisions have already been made, which makes sense because we already know they're going to be doing, we're expecting a July expansion. It's now March. All those major design decisions have been made, and the chances of somebody being able to come in here and have an impact on that at this point is relatively low. So I can understand why they want to wait and just not do that. And the second thing they said was the 11 people that are on there are great. So they don't feel like they're losing that much because, hey, you know what? It's just Wormhole guy. I mean,
I want to say here too, and I already talked to the guys who I talked to all the CSM the other day, to all of them, everybody who I've worked with this year, last year, all the FCs and alliance heads and everybody else who was willing to lend me a hand and kind of understand more about how the game works so that I could try and be a better representative for the players to CCP over the last 2.5 years, or I guess it's just 2 years now. I cannot thank you guys enough. It's been the honor of my life to be able to work alongside you guys. Seriously, it's such a cool experience. If you have not considered running before and you think that you might have something to offer the game, you should run. I honestly didn't think it would happen for me. I didn't have any reason to think it would happen for me, and it did. It's a cool experience either way, win, lose, or draw. And
he got to meet me, which of course,
and I did get to meet. It
was amazing, even though I am not at all a celebrity or famous, and no one knows who I am.
I did. The thing about it is, all of this, it's you get so few opportunities in life to do something that is just this absolutely fucking wild out of nowhere, and to be able to be in this position and do the stuff that I'm doing, it's really meant a lot to me. So I did actually, when I was crying earlier on camera, that was real. I knew the bit was coming, but also
we're kind of dicks about that. I know. We're pretty good at it.
I thought it was pretty good. Honestly, I thought it was not too bad.
We're pretty good actors on this show. Just saying.
So
they were real fake tears. Exactly.
Yeah, they were real fake tears. I had to like dry my eyes real quick before I put the glasses on. In all seriousness, I know we're wrapping this thing up. To everybody, all the viewers here on INN, everybody who's watching, from all my people, all my guys, all the wormholers who I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of strong opinions about this back home. I want you to know that it has been the most profound and most significant pleasure that I've had the last couple of years to be able to represent you, to be able to voice your concerns, your interests. I will continue to try and do that in whatever capacity I can, as long as it's professionally responsible. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I've had a great time. I hope that whoever fills these shoes is able to do so. I do have enormous feet that just kind of comes with the territory. So you may have to put some padding in there to make it happen. But yeah, that's it. That's the bit, or rather, not the bit.
That's it. Not the bit. The real story. The true story.
The actual story. The true story. The very true story.
Ladies and
CCP
gentlemen,
Jotun, who would have fucking guessed? Here we are.
Listen, and that's the thing.
Wild,
I want to give Swift and the other CCP folks an attaboy here. Okay. And Swift is a perfect example of this. One of the things that I very, very much appreciated and have appreciated since about 2019 or so, almost every one of the new hires that we have seen that's been forward-facing, community-facing, whether it's community developer for Project Awakening, whether it's community developers for EVE Online itself proper, the company has gone out and taken advantage of the immense amount of talent in the people that play this game. And you look at the folks that they hired. You look at CCP Aurora, who came from Brave. You look at obviously Mark. You look at Pete, who came from PL, who's been around a long time. CCPB, Bjorn B, arguably one of the biggest, I mean, I would not even arguably, the biggest game playing Eve streamer ever. You know, you look at General Stargazer, who became CCP Zealous. You look at our boy Convict. You look at all of these guys that have been around a long time. It is amazing to me how right the company has gotten on these higher, and of course Suetonia, exactly. Suetonia becoming CCP Kestrel. Like, it is amazing to me how many good people have gotten hired by the company over the last, 5 or 6 years. And I got to give them a ton of credit. They're going out, they're finding good folks. We're putting good people on here. And I think it's made a ton of difference. And I'm pleased with the way the game is moving now. There's always going to be stuff that we don't like. There's always going to be stuff we're going to criticize. There's always going to be stuff that we're going to give people a hard time for. But I got to tell you, it makes me very happy to see folks that I know, that I trust, that are good, getting recognized for that. And not only are they getting recognized for it, they're able to be put in a position where they can help make the game better. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm happy about. And I'm looking forward, and listen, I have been part of the Project Awakening crowd from the very, very beginning. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else happens. I'm looking forward to the next testing, all that other kind of stuff that we do. And I'm looking forward to working with CCP Jotun, my boy Ben, over at CCP headquarters, if I get to see him again. Obviously, FanFest will be next year, so I guess I'll probably see him. I'm sure
you'll be running for CSM next year, too, of course.
Do not put that evil on me, Ricky.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Do not do it. Not do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the show. I want to give a big thank you to Mark Resurrectus, former co-host of the Meta Show, former CSM colleague of mine, and a big thank you to CCP Jotun, our newest member of CCP Games, for joining us on the show today. This has been the Meta Show for March the 30th, 2024. Thank you for everything, Mark. We're looking forward to seeing what you do in the next chapter. For the rest of you, I will see you next week for the most watched, most loved, most hated EVE Online talk show, the Meta Show. And you stay classy, New Eden.